staying focused on the present and talking about mindfulness. One teacher was so inspired by what mindfulness can achieve, he decided to take it to his classroom. Take a look.
My name is J.G. Larochette, and I am the founder and director of Mindful Life Project. I taught third grade in Richmond, California, in a very, very low-income community with a lot of violence and drugs and a lot of dysfunction. And there's a lot of problems that kids were dealing with that I started internalizing, and I started kind of having anxiety and deep forms of depression. And after a really big bout of noticing how my body and mind was reacting to the oppression that these kids were feeling, I ended up finding mindfulness. I noticed in a few weeks my level of anxiety was calming down, and I tried it with my students after 3 weeks of my own personal practice. I was like, if it works for me, it's got to work for my kids.
How many of you have a hard time staying with breathing in and breathing out and you start thinking about a lot of things?
Mindful Life Project is a grassroots nonprofit with the most incredible dynamic teachers, instructors that could ever come together. And we're teaching kids, empowering children through mindfulness and other skills like yoga, therapy, art, performing arts, so that they can have wise responses to their challenging life situations they might find themselves in.
Somebody will come to you, mess with you, you gotta learn how to block it out.
Our kids are just amazing. They're just absorbing it. People hear, oh, that fifth grade class was able to sit quietly for 10 minutes. Teachers come to us and say, I've been teaching for 20 years, and I've never had my class as focused, as still, as on task as when you guys come in and teach mindfulness. If you look at our kids in our community, you realize right away that mindfulness is for everyone, and it is the most transformative thing that I've ever come across.
So from Richmond, California, please welcome J.G. Larochette and his colleague Timothy Scott Jr., known to all of his students as Just Me. Hi, guys. Welcome. Nice to see you. So this is so fascinating, and I can't wait to hear the impact it's having on these kids, J.G. But when you founded the Mindful Life Project back in 2012, I guess just 2 years ago, how did people react to the idea? Did they think you were nuts?
To be honest, in my community, there had already been an attempt to bring mindfulness into Richmond through an organization called Mindful Schools that trains tons of people. And they have a lot of research, just like Sharon and everyone talked about, and Donna talked about earlier, a lot of research, but the district didn't want to hear it, and they didn't want to have mindfulness. And so when I started, I knew I had to do it as a grassroots movement. Start within my class, then spread it to my school, and then find the local schools nearby to really grow a community around it. And even though we had some pushback, now they're not pushing back anymore.
They're not. Well, I know your program now reaches 3,000 students in 6 schools in the Bay Area. And you, as we heard, called it the most transformative thing you've ever come across. How is this practice transforming these kids?
You see it when you see them sit silently for 10, 15 minutes. You see it in their ways of responding to situations instead of reacting. We're seeing that kids are creating a way of navigating their difficult experiences through understanding and having awareness of their emotions, understanding and awareness of their thoughts, and creating space between a stimulus and their response instead of a reaction.
Meanwhile, Timothy, you teach mindfulness and something called mindful hip-hop.
Yeah.
Now, how can hip-hop be mindful? Because some people might think it sounds like an oxymoron.
Right.
You know? But tell me about what you do.
Our culture is so saturated with hip-hop in itself. It's so a part of these kids' lives and their lifestyle. Everything that they're getting is basically formed around hip-hop. So all of their influences, however negative or positive they are, we try to make it so that they can still have those influences, but we take the songs and we actually, the ones that they listen to on the radio, we actually transform them to have mindful lyrics. So what I do is I guide them through a little bit of the mindful practice, and then I'll sit down and write some of the songs with them, and then they come up with these lyrics. And
can you give me an example of changing the lyrics to make them more mindful?
No problem. Can I stand up?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is actually a rendition of Kendrick Lamar's Swimming Pool. Shout out Kendrick Lamar. We actually rewrote this. Yeah, we rewrote this so it's like, this mindfulness really helps, giving me time to get back to myself, bringing me peace of mind, sublime, restoring my mind and emotional health. My outlet's artistic, my spirit's uplifted. Be without that, I doubt that. I found out I'm gifted. This is where we learning how to be it, don't stop. We gonna show the whole world how we rock. Yeah, this the Mindful Life Project, make 'em vibe with it. Mindful Life Project, make 'em vibe with it. So that's something like that.
Nice job. too. You know, obviously your lyrics are full of positivity, and this kind of is very life-affirming for the students who sing and participate in.
It's basically like a daily reminder for them. The more they listen to the songs on the radio, the more they know those lyrics. But the more they listen to the mindful songs, the new renditions of those same songs that they're already familiar with, the more that message becomes a lifestyle, becomes a part of their everyday life.
That's cool. And plus, I guess they take some ownership because they help write those lyrics and they come from their hearts.
Yeah.
Well, Larice Hunt and her son Malik are here today, and Malik is a student in the Mindful Life Project. And before we get to Malik, I wanted to ask Larice, I know that your son was going through a very rough time. Larice, tell us what was going on in your lives.
Well, in 2012, my oldest son was killed, and Malik and him were really, really close. After losing him, Malik was clearly devastated and really struggled and just couldn't manage his feelings and his grief. He was just getting in trouble, having real difficulty with anger. He was really struggling.
And he got involved with Mindful Life, Malik, and tell me what you think you learned from that and being a part of this program. How did it help you deal with so much that you were trying to handle that's so hard for a grown-up person to deal with, much less somebody your age?
It helped me. It helped me pay attention to the present moment. It helped me grab my anger and put it back inside of me and keep it there for a while.
You know, this isn't an isolated incident because there's a lot of sadness and violence going on in some of the neighborhoods where you're working.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of kids like Malik out there, aren't there?
Unfortunately, our inner cities are being neglected, and the low-income communities are being forced in education to push academics further because they're further behind. But we focus in on the student social-emotional learning. You see a young man like Malik who already has inner resilience deep inside of him, and they're able to tap into it through mindfulness. It shows that it's transformative to anyone.
Malik has done so well. He got some good news recently. Can you share that with us, JG?
Right before we got on our flight to come out to New York, his principal sent me an email saying Malik is the highest academic student in his class this year.
That is so great. I'm so glad you guys came by, and Donna and Sharon, this was so much fun, and I think it shows if this can help a young man like Malik and kids all over the country, certainly would be wonderful to spread this everywhere, wouldn't it? Do you see that happening in other schools?
There's some amazing programs out there right now, Katie, that are doing phenomenal work. It's got to be out there for everyone, and we're excited to be a part of that movement. It's called the Quiet Revolution, so join us.
All right. Well, thank you all so much, and to learn more about the Mindful Life Project, you can go to our website at katiecouric.com. We'll be right back. Thank you.